Ever wonder why you're not interesting? Here's why you're not interesting. You're not interesting because you only hold conversations about people in your immediate circle, things that have happened with the people you're talking to in the recent past, and logistical matters of like how you got there and what you might do in the future and where you might get your next lunch or dinner. And those things might be enough to sustain an old friendship that's running off the fumes of past fun times. But if you're trying to meet new people, those things are not going to carry you through. They're not going to make you stand out. They're not going to make you seem like an interesting person. In fact, they're going to make you seem bland, shallow, and maybe if your vibe is great, you can get away with it. But it's going to be hard to make deep friendships, and you're going to wonder why people are kind of slipping past you, why the conversations aren't sticky. Unless, of course, you're extremely attractive, you can probably get away with it. But let's not count on that, shall we? Because your life will probably be much more fulfilled if you're comfortable not monologuing and preaching and dialoguing and having big arguments, but switching between, topics of some substance, to be able to talk about current events, about history, about politics, about religion, about music, about movies. It doesn't have to be crazy deep. And that's the big mistake, is people tend to make this weird dichotomy between fun, lighthearted conversations about things that don't matter and deep, troubling, difficult conversations and arguments about politics and spirituality and even movies. Like, it's either boring debate or nerdy discourse or fun, happy time talking about, oh, we should get ice cream. Where do you want to go get ice cream? It doesn't have to be that way. Would you believe that you can have a fun conversation that doesn't devolve into an argument about politics or about a movie or about something else contentious? You just have to be emotionally mature enough to not monologue and steamroll. And then, of course, you need a partner who's also that mature. But it is possible. And if you manage it, you could even become, the rarest of things, an interesting conversationalist that can hop around between subjects with ease without boring people, because you actually do the hard work of identifying what they're interested in, what they want to talk about. Because not everyone, some people, no matter how interesting and conversationally gifted you are and how much you know and how well you present opportunities for the other person to talk, some people just don't want to talk politics ever. And that's fine. In fact, it's probably even a healthy option. But there's something of substance in most people that they will talk about. Now, the sad thing is they might be so unused to that they don't even know how. I was like this for a long time. I love literature. I love books. I didn't know how to talk about them because I never did, because no one else ever talked to me about them. So I didn't know how to have a substantive discussion. I could just be like, oh, that's a good book. Yeah, cool. And then there's that other trap, as I mentioned before, where every time you talk to someone who has similar interests, it goes into a debate. For example, my favorite band is the Beatles. When I find another Beatles fan, you would think that we would hug it out and talk about how great the Beatles are in detail. But often we end up, that album isn't their best. No, this album's their best. We somehow find the points of contention, and it ends up, the fact that we both love the same band and have that connection almost ends up coming between us. It's ridiculous. But I think it may be human nature or else bad habits that we've learned because we're not used to talking about abstract topics. And fair enough. As I mentioned in the previous video, the idea that we would discuss these abstract ideas is recent, I think for most of human history, what we talked about is what happened today, gossip, how the crops are doing. Not much else. But now we're free. Now we can talk about things. And if you're the person that actually knows things, but isn't a bore that preaches and lectures and shows off, then you can be free to talk to anyone. You could talk to a child because you can figure out what a kid wants to talk about, if it's Minecraft or whatever. You can talk to an old person because you know enough that you actually can have an interesting topic of substance. But if all you ever want to talk about are the people you know and how you drove there and what you're going to eat and how things are going at your job, well, no one is ever going to like talking to you except people that are supplicating, or validating you, maybe because you're hot, maybe because they want something from you. Do you see? Being boring is really not beneficial in the long run, because if you're boring, the only people that talk to you are people that have an ulterior motive. Whereas if your conversation itself is worthy of interest and inherently fun and interesting, well, then everyone talks to you without an ulterior motive because talking to you is fun. This is how valuable this is. But it's just this rare that it's this valuable. Try it out with everyone you know. Try to talk about something that you would think they would be interested in. Like, you probably have a friend that says, oh, I love music. I love music so much. Try and talk to them about music. See how far you get. Probably most of the people that even proclaim to like something have no idea how to talk about it, even if part of them would want to, or they've just learned that like abstract topic equals boring and not emotionally stimulating enough to hold their interest. Like, some people's interest can only be held by various forms of gossip. I think that's sad. I don't think you want that to be you. If you do, more power to you. But if you don't, look at finding what other people are interested in and connecting with them, and let them lead to a degree. Don't enforce your abstract topic on them. Find it together and enjoy talking about something where you actually learn and not just decide where you're going to have dinner the next day. That's all.